Shaming is something that we need in society. It's something that we use to curtail bad behavior, and it should be a deterrent from repeating the same mistakes that put us in a mess to begin with. But in this day and age, shaming seems to be associated with something very negative. There's a negative connotation to when it comes to the thing called shame. And shame is not exactly a bad thing, especially in this politically correct society, or should I say, PC society that we have going around. I think it's safe to say that our ability to use common sense has long since been thrown out the window. And this in itself is very, very problematic, considering the fact that this is actually going to hinder us from moving forward in society as we speak. Now, I'm just going to lay a couple of truth bombs and facts when it comes down to it. I mean, if you do some things that you know is wrong, and somebody is shamed for doing something that's wrong, everybody nowadays is just going to look at you as the bad guy, and they're going to say you shouldn't be judgmental. You're a piece of this, you're ignorant or whatever. And one example in particular that I would like to mention is something called slut shaming. Now, I might be the first person to say this, but slut shaming is actually a good thing. No, it is actually because a lot of these people out there who actually, what's it called, conduct themselves in this kind of behavior, they they definitely deserve to be slut shamed. All the stuff about sleeping with multiple partners and all this nonsense, that to me is a goddamn joke. You don't get to sit there and actually tell me that slut shaming is wrong. And growing up, I used to do a lot of slut shaming. Only difference is I didn't do it towards women, I did it towards men. Because the women that I knew who were known for having this, they had this reputation and everybody slut shamed the woman. So I thought, you know what? Women already are getting enough damage as it is, with being slut shamed and being gossiped about behind their back. So I'll just do it to the men. And I used to say it to their face. And I've been threatened for it. But I think it's safe to say that when it comes down to it, I mean, it's not that I was taking the woman's side. I actually wanted them to get slut shamed too because they deserve it. But the thing is that, they call it slut shaming like it's a bad thing, but those kind of people who sleep around, they deserve to be shamed. And you know what's actually sad? Those kind of people, they don't think what they're doing is wrong until somebody gets pregnant or one of them ends up getting an STD or HIV. So so slut shaming is a good thing. We need shame in society to not only to be a deterrent from repeating bad mistakes over and over and over again. And and when people say, "Well, you shouldn't be doing that. That's kind of mean. You're slut shaming. That's wrong." Um, there's actually nothing wrong with doing that because if you've had a history of sleeping around with a whole bunch of partners, whether you're a man or woman, you don't deserve my respect. You really don't. You only deserve my respect after you've changed your ways, um, after, getting it out of your system. If you have matured and you've changed your ways, then you deserve my respect. But until then, I'm just going to shame you and I'm going to just say nothing but bad things about you because nobody deserves respect if you happen to do this. I don't care if it's in the privacy between you and somebody else. Word gets around, whether it's in a small town or you're a familiar face to a lot of other people. And people talk, especially guys. They talk to each other when they have had their experiences with how many girls how many girls they've laid. So my point is, slut shaming is a good thing. We need that in society. I highly encourage it. And this is not meant to be a demeaning thing. This is meant to make sure that you have your common sense intact. And I mean, you could dress however you want, but don't be surprised if people are gonna associate you with a prostitute or whatever it is, because that's actually a very fair assumption in their defense. So you see, you should judge people based on the way they dress, because people's outfits, that actually tells you what kind of person they are. That's a fact. Because that shows that they know how to conduct themselves very well, and they know how to present themselves very well, and it shows that that they like to make good impressions. Outfits are a reflection of that. So if you wear like mini skirts, or you're one of those guys who like to do gym tanning and all that stuff, and you have like these sleeveless shirts like tank tops, and you walk around showing your muscles with the spiky hair and the sunglasses, you're not going to get respect like that. That's just the bottom line. So I'm not saying like this has anything to do with whatever, but I mean, where there's shame, there's judgment, and oftentimes there's harsh judgment. But the thing is, if people change their ways, then you can always get more respect from other people. But when you stop to think about it, like, yeah, um, shaming is a good thing, because that should actually encourage you to change your ways and to better yourself. That's why we have shame. That's why we have shame, so that we could encourage. So this could be used as an encouraging motivator to better ourselves. And sometimes shame is bad enough to the point where some people either commit suicide, or you know, uh, they just keep it as a secret, even from their own families. But you see, I'm not going to sit here and say that, I'm going to be politically correct and sensitive to other people's perspectives just because of the fact that, they have something. I mean, and especially in the case of slut shaming, yeah, I mean, sluts need to be shamed. I mean, if you are going to go around being a floozy, sleeping around with a bunch of women, sleeping around with a bunch of men, you deserve to be shamed for it, because those kind of people, they don't see the wrong that they're doing. And when they don't see the wrong that they're doing, then they're gonna learn the hard way, either through getting STDs, HIV, or somebody ends up getting pregnant. But when you shame them for it, they get defensive and they try to defend their own actions. But I'm not gonna have respect for those kind of people. And I used to slut shame men. Not so much now, because I haven't met any who have slept around with a whole bunch of other women yet. But if I do come across one recently, then I'll definitely slut shame them and make them feel bad for it. And whenever I used to do that, I slept very well at night. And I'm not kidding when I say this. I slept very early and I felt refreshed the next morning. So yeah, I mean, this is actually a good thing. Shame is something we need in society, but with this PC mentality going around, I think it's definitely safe to say that with PC, with being politically correct, people, instead of actually encouraging one another to better themselves, or instead of people actually being motivated to better themselves as human beings, so that they can mature and grow from their experiences, they just make excuses and they defend their own actions. I'm talking about like doing the wrong things. I mean, just like someone who comes from an area of poverty and crime, there's like, that's all I know. This is what I've grown up with. That's all I know how to do. I don't know anything else. So I really hate it when people say like, oh, you shouldn't shame somebody because that shows negative judgment and that shows that you're narrow-minded. Well, if you're going to be an open-minded and non-judgmental person, don't expect anyone to be open-minded and non-judgmental when it comes to you, because being narrow-minded and being is one thing, which is very bad. I don't agree with being narrow-minded, but being judgmental, that's never going to go away. And same with shaming others. So I think people should actually stop with this BS that, oh, shaming people is bad, slut shaming is evil. That shows that you're narrow-minded and ignorant. Instead of defending these kind of actions, whether you're, committing crimes or sleeping around or doing all these stupid things, people should actually point out the wrong and actually say something about it. Because that's a form of taking action in itself, since talk is not cheap. So, with that being said, shaming is a good thing, even when it comes to slut shame. I'm a supporter of that. And I'm not apologizing for that either. I don't care if I become the most hated person in this world. That just comes to but if that ever does happen, that just comes to show you that common sense is no longer common, and I'm one of the few people on this planet who actually has it. That's it. Now that I got that out of my system, I would like to say thank you very much for watching my video. God bless.